I got the part a couple of months before we started shooting, I was out with Jim Atchison, the designer, and we went to different wardrobes all over London and tried on all sorts of clothes, and it evolved, you know, this kind of crazy old student look, you know, with the big jacket and the baggy trousers and especially the scarf. The scarf came in by accident. Jim Atchison, the designer, laid out the colours, and then he bought, you know, a truckload of wool, and he sent this wool to a woman with a charming name called Begonia Pope. I've often talked about this. And Begonia Pope was so thrilled to be working with BBC, she knitted up this scarf, and she didn't actually phone Jim to say, when do I stop? You know, it was a van load of wool. So when we went to collect the scarf, she couldn't open the front door of her apartment. And the scarf about 58 feet long. And we had to cut it down a bit, but that's how it happened. The thing like it long, the longer the better, you know, and it turned out to be very amusing, and it became a kind of a little totem of Doctor Who.
It did. We have a lot of scars in the audience.
the way I was, yes.
Funnily enough, that leads into very much into the next question from Ginger Long Windsor. How many times, if any, did you trip over that scarf?
Yes. Countless times. It wouldn't be allowed now. We couldn't use a costume like that now because of health and safety everywhere. But especially when it got heavy in the rain, you know, on location. And sometimes I felt quite bad. But the thing is that everybody liked the longer, and children were actually wearing long scarves and falling over. You know. They were allowed to fall over and break their ankles.
Speaking of things that were iconic of the Fourth Doctor, Stephanie Smith wants to know, did you actually enjoy jelly babies?
Well, I enjoyed the idea. It was my silly idea to show contempt for a villain. And when somebody was threatening me, instead of making a speech, I would play a sort of innocent character who, when his life was in danger, would say to the man who was about to kill him, "Would you like a jelly baby?" Yes, thanks. Well, that's what I thought. And gradually, now I sign thousands of pictures to people. St. George, you know, would you like a jelly baby? People like those benevolently silly things, and I, you know, am a great source of benevolently silly things.
Sort of along that line, with the new series, they've been bringing back the jelly babies. We had the nice jelly babies in the cigarette case, if you saw that.
Is that so? I didn't know that.
In Mummy on the Orient Express, the 12th Doctor brought out a cigarette case, and there were jelly babies in it. And I believe that was Peter Capaldi's idea.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
When I congratulated him, he sent me a very nice email thanking me and saying how much he had been a great fan of Doctor Who for many years. He was a good choice, I think. I caught a glimpse of him. I like that bony face. He really looks as if he comes from somewhere elsewhere. But anyway, so much for the journey.
Also from Stephanie Smith, what was your funniest experience on the set of Doctor Who?
I don't know I can't recall a particularly funny. Perhaps I remember one time I was held up in the bar after the recording was, and I couldn't get a drink. Every time I picked up my drink, somebody asked me to sign something. After about an hour, and the others were all getting very tipsy, and I was still utterly sober. Really terribly martyred. I left the restaurant where we were, and I went down to Shepherd's Bush, which was about a few hundred yards away, dark now, late at night, and a man came up to me, and he gave me a piece of paper, and he said, "Here." And so I took the piece of paper, and I wrote "Best wishes Tom Baker, Dr. Who, and he looked at it, he said, "What's this?" So I said, "It's an autograph." And he looked at me, he turned it over, he said, "No, no, no, where is Uxbridge Road?"
Funnily enough, that answer is the exact opposite of the next question, which comes from Leslie Fasillo, who says, "What were the first circumstances under which you were recognized for your role in Doctor Who, and what were the strangest circumstances?"
Well, I don't know about the strangest, but the first time in that part of London, I lived in Notting Hill Gate, and one day, after about the second transmission, I happened to come out of a little electrical shop where I've been buying a torch or something, and a coach drew up, about 60 children in it, and they recognized me. And they all rushed to the side of the coach, near where I was, and it tilted slightly with all these children. They all came piling out, you know, and I was absolutely buried in children. It was wonderful, this kind of speed of which they felt an affection for this silly hero, you know, and when it was all over and they got them back onto the bus and they went away cheering and waving, and the man in the shop said, "It must be marvelous," he said, to be recognized like that, Tom. He said, "I was only thinking while that was happening, his name was Dimitri." And he said, "I thought to myself, why should Tom Baker have all this attention and nobody knows Dimitri?" I had to try and console him. I said, "Well, I know you, Dimitri." And he said, "Yeah, that's true." And I said, "Oh, you're white folks." I know, I saw her talking to you the other day. and your children know you, know, and God knows you. That's not a bad audience. You know? He said, "Yeah, but I prefer millions." You know? Everybody wants to be loved and adored. You know? I think, and if they don't, I don't want to know them. I'm not interested in people who aren't interested in love. Right, ask me another question.
All right. Gervais Joki asks, "Have you ever debated being the Master, even if it was just him disguised as the Doctor?"
Well, when the series came back after a long hiatus, I was hoping that the BBC might actually offer me the part of the Master. For this reason, that in villainy and heroes, Sherlock Holmes or Superman or